Welcome in the House of Horns. My name is Victor Corona, aka Victor Producer, and Gilbert Manzano, who does it for Sports Illustrated MMQB. He will be joining us in a little bit. He had five stories in the late window, 5 games, so he has a lot to catch up on. But he will be joining us momentarily, as I see him hopping on right now. But we are here because the Rams clinched the playoff spot with a 41-34 win over the Lions. The Rams put up 519 yards of offense. Although they do give up 396 to the Lions, but a big win here, especially when they were down 24-14 and scored 20 unanswered points to take a 10-point lead. So a huge win for the Rams here. Now, clinching a playoff spot for the seventh time in 9 seasons under Sean McVay. The only 2 years that they haven't was after they went to the Super Bowl. So something to keep an eye on there. And yeah, big win. We'll see. Let me know, Gilbert, when you're ready to go, and I'll get you on here. All right, let's have him on. He's ready to go. So I don't want to waste any time here, and let's get him on here. So let me just do some. There we go, Gilbert. Give me your takeaways while I fix this stuff up here. So there we go, Gilbert. Just give me your thoughts on this game. What were your takeaways?
Yeah, that was a very dominant offensive performance from the Rams, and I think it's safe to say now. I don't know, maybe Josh Allen might disagree, but I think it's safe to say the Rams have the best offense in football. And sorry, Josh Allen, you have a good one too, and they went off against the Patriots, but the star power. And I know we're gonna discuss the Devontae Adams injury, but Devontae was making plays. Puka Nacua is a freaking stud. The running backs, man, they're going off at the perfect time. Corum and Kyron and Kobe Parkinson, man, making plays. I know Ferguson didn't get that touchdown. He's making plays too. So they are loaded with star power, depth, and you have an elite quarterback. And that touchdown pass from Stafford to Parkinson, I think he was a yard short, but whatever. They got the touchdown.
Yeah.
Great dime right there. Playing lights out, man. And all right, I'll say two things here. One, I'm right about the secondary. They're not that good. They got lit up. But two, I'm wrong. They could withstand the secondary because the offense is that good. Like this is the perfect example of a matchup that I was concerned about, and I picked the Lions. You could boo me, that's okay, because I thought the Lions' offense was going to pick apart the secondary, and they did early on with Jamison Williams and Amon St. Brown. But the development, the positive here for the Rams offense is better. They are more explosive, more offense than the Lions, and that is something I did not see coming this year. So when you get into a track meet, and I'll compare it again to the Bills and the Patriots, when there was a track meet and the Lions kind of had a little bit of a start, it's kind of like you're like I'm a track guy, but you're going to track meet, you're on 4x4, somebody
Yep.
builds a lead, but that last guy, that anchor man, he's going to come down and hawk you, and that's what the Rams did. And then the Lions got gassed out. They had no other place besides big shots down the field. That's all they had. The Rams were so versatile. So kind of to compare with the game with the Bills and the Patriots. Patriots jumped out to a big lead, but hey, slow and steady wins the race, and then boom, 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 here comes the waves, and Josh Allen took over. So. And speaking of those two teams, Bills, Rams, Super Bowl would be kind of fun to watch. Anyways, that's getting too far ahead. But one, I was wrong. The secondary is a problem, but it's not that big of a problem when you have an offensive juggernaut, can I say, about this team.
Yeah, and I'm glad you brought that up, Gilbert, because I'm not gonna make an excuse for the secondary. I am gonna go to this question here to Brian Smith and kind of set up here my takeaway from this matchup. And he says is asking, is Shula sitting on his playbook? Seems like zero pass rush in this game. They had one sack, and I had a back and forth conversation um in our comments this week when talking about this Rams team and some of the deficiencies, right? And I think it was somebody I was wanting to get his name on here, right? Gerald Jeff Code, and he was talking about the fact that he saw a quote from Shula where he was asking Jared Verse that he was saying, well, Jared Verse can beat anybody off the line, on a pass rush, but they want him to kind of tame it down because they want to be able to stop the run. They bottled up both of those
Yeah.
those running backs in this game. And I think that's been a philosophy change in this season, Gilbert, that I've seen where all the top running backs they face, whether it's been Saquon, Jonathan Taylor, and now these two, two-headed monster here with the Lions, they've been able to bottle those guys up. So I guess for Shula it was, look, we can allow one face of their offense to beat us. We just can't allow both faces of them. And so they said, you know what? We're going to stop the run and allow them to beat us down the field. And that's what they did in this game. And that sometimes you got to pick and choose your battles. And I felt like Chris Shula did that in this game. And I'll say this, like as many yards they gave up 396 yards in this game, Gilbert, but they forced three straight three and outs to start the second half. So that was huge to me. That changed completely this game, and it gave the Rams the win. And yeah, offensively they look great and everything, but I thought those three straight three and outs were the differences in the game. They don't win this game without that, Gilbert.
Yeah, and a couple of things here, and multiple things can be true. Like I want to see more from the pass rush, and they haven't been that dominant. But you're right; they're doing things better for the run defense, and eventually you want to get to a point where you can do a little bit of everything. You're going to be able to be a pass rushing team, a run defense team, and because they're not quite there, especially because they're a little small in the back end of the defense, they're trying to, so they're making the front utilize that aspect of the game more. Okay, make sure you're going and run defense. And to their credit, they've been playing well. And I really wanted to touch on the defensive scheme on Jahmyr Gibbs, because that was no easy feat to hold them down to, I think, 38 yards rushing, not much in the passing game. And for this game, I think that approach is fine, because if you're going all out to bring down, Goff, who's great at kind of getting the ball out quickly anyway. So what's the point of going all out to bring him down? And when he releases the ball, now you give the ball in space to Gibbs, who's able to break tackles. But for the few times that Gibbs got the ball, they were swarming. They went after him. There was a couple of jukes here and there, maybe one broken tackle, but there was nothing big. It was clean football. It was the type of game you needed to have fundamentals to keep Jahmyr Gibbs, in front of you. And then at the same time, this pass offense doesn't work without a run game. So if you take that away, those deep shots weren't going to come anymore. And they were coming early because I think Montgomery was doing well, being physical and setting the tone. And you could tell they wanted to play big boy football against a small, back half of the defense. And they went away from it. And I think part of it is because it got into a track meet, and you can't keep pace field goal for a touchdown. And that was the thing about the Rams. And I guess I had to see it to believe, but for the matchup to go into their favor, they had to lean a lot offensively. And I get what you're saying, Vic, about the defense, but to me, that they would have kept scoring and scoring. Like that game kept going longer than that. Like it would. I know it was close at the end, but I'm gonna go say more the offense won the game, but it was a complete performance all around, because the defense had to do a couple things to stop a very explosive offense. So to me, yeah, and that's how you win games individually. You don't want to think about the future or what happened before, like for a matchup and what you're seeing. And that's the thing, is that the Rams have gotten in trouble. I've mentioned it feels like the Eagles have their number. It feels like the Lions had their number. The Packers have had their number too. But now we could go into the game plan for 1 week and putting everything aside, and you could just say, you know what, secondary, give us this or give us that, or we'll take away this and we'll sacrifice that. Boom, you see games like today.
Yeah, and of course you're correct. Like having an offense like that can mitigate a lot of things that you can do defensively, right? However you want to play on defense, like it allows you to be able to do those things. And I'm with you, like especially offensively, what we saw. I thought the biggest thing too, Gilbert, was, and I said it. I bet you anything that Sean McVay's going to be aggressive. He went for it twice on fourth down in that first drive because he knew, like, hey, I'm not going to be able to depend on my defense maybe in this game. And so I thought that was another thing. And then you saw Dan Campbell try to kick the field goal and then they miss it. Maybe, who knows, if they make that field goal, things are different. Maybe if he goes for it, it's just that 0 for 7 before coming into this game on fourth down for the Lions really was on his mind. And it wasn't until later on in the game where he was just like, you know what? I can't just settle for 3 points here against this team. So I thought Sean McVay kind of being aggressive in this game really helped them as well.
Yeah, that is exactly my problem with Dan Campbell. He doesn't have a feel for the fourth downs. Like, and people always say, like, well, if you've done that before, we'll keep doing it. You don't have to. It's all about the flow of the game or what you're seeing. It's like when you're playing the Eagles and you know it's gonna be low scoring, go for the field goals. He did not. When you're playing an explosive Rams offense with the leading pass touchdown guy in Stafford, go for the fourth downs. And he's like all reversed because he was missing early on. It's now in his head. It's like a mental thing. So to me, Campbell has gotten it wrong. Before in his career when the offense was just rolling, sure, I get that, but sometimes just get a feel for a situation of football. Who's your opponent? What's the flow of the game? And when I saw him going for field goals early on, I know Jake Bates had that miss, and he did it again not too long ago. I knew it was going to be a long day for him because you cannot do that with the Rams offense. But to their credit, they jumped out to a 10-point lead. They did expose the one weakness on this team, and they just needed to keep going back to exposing that area. Just you can't just do it by dropping back for Goff and going deep. You needed to have David Montgomery, and I've been saying Montgomery needs to be more in this game, or sorry, more in this offense. And I get it, Gibbs is better, but when you can't force feed Gibbs, he's an efficient playmaker. He picks his spots when to go off. He doesn't need to have 20 to 30 carries. It's just not his game. So to me, it could go back to coaching. Vic, you were on this. I was trying to give Campbell the benefit of the doubt. No Ben Johnson. It's really affecting the flow of the game, the pulse of the offense, who does what, schematically, game plan. They all got exposed this year.
Yeah, and one of the ways that you can beat the Rams is by as you said, ball control with the Lions, and you just didn't see that. They just decided, hey, and like I said, maybe it was the Rams the way they schemed on defense, where they were like, well, we weren't expecting this in terms of them trying to stop the run, and so they were just, that was one of the things too that I saw. It these games were kind of a mirror of each other. I'm glad you brought up the Buffalo game too, because that was the same thing I saw in that Buffalo Patriots game where it was like the two teams that needed to prove something in the Bills and the Lions. They should have played ball control, and for some reason they would score relatively fast, and then Buffalo would just gas and the Rams gas their defense, and they couldn't stop them by the end of the fourth quarter. And I felt like that was in the second half. That was the Rams, like they did those three and outs on the Lions offense, and then the Rams offense was just like, hey, we're just gonna wear you down until you can no longer stay in this game. And honestly, once they were up 2 touchdowns, this game was over. I get it that they made it close within 1 touchdown, but at the end of the day, it's like that's the way you're gonna beat these teams like the Bills and the Rams. I just feel like the Rams have a better defense. The Bills
Oh
is
yeah,
just you can run all over them.
yeah.
That's the biggest difference.
Yeah, and that's what I felt with the Lions. It's like the Rams are more complete, and it's like, okay, the Rams could survive a couple missed drives and not scoring points because their defense is better than Detroit. And when they went up 10 points, the Detroit that is, they should have stopped going big game hunting. Like it worked. Okay, now you have the control of the game. You could do what you want. And they should have ran the ball a lot. And like even if it's kind of like not working for a while, just make it a physical game where you're wearing down a defense is already having trouble. Like you're in their mind. You're saying, okay, they might go big shot here. Oh no, they're running the football. Oh, dump off here. And you're kind of guessing you're not like when you're saying things like this defense is too focused on the run defense. Like when you open up the offense, you can't just commit to one facet of the game because you just don't know what's going to happen. They kept going big shot, and then it got predictable, and you went away from the run, and you allowed the Rams offense to take off. But I thought they were lucky when they got 10 points, baby, because I'm like, this Detroit defense is terrible. They can't get off the field here, and they got a gift when Stafford threw an interception
Yep.
to Aiden Hutchinson. Like these were all gifts to set the tone and get the game flow in your direction. Detroit got the pick. You scored 7-7, and then you went up 24-14, and you still laid an egg. So yeah, I think having a more complete team definitely was beneficial for the Rams. And Detroit, horrendous defense, but I'm not gonna take anything away from the Rams offense. They just lit them up because they're that good.
Talking about defense, and now as we kind of move forward here, Gilbert, from after this matchup, and I saw the comment here from Brian. He says the Colts shut down the Seattle run game today. And I mean, Seattle looked really bad. I'm sorry. Like I kept an eye on it there too while I was watching this Rams game, and maybe it'll change because it's a divisional game, but there was a lot of things that Seattle, I don't know if they just overlooked the fact that they were starting a 44-year-old quarterback, whatever it was. That offense still doesn't look good. It's all on JSN,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like their run game they can get going, and so I can't wait to see what happens in this game. Devontae also getting hurt in this game. And Brian Min said, "Am I bad for not carrying that Devontae's injury?" I like you mentioned, Gilbert. I think this offense has so many parts to it that if he does, I rather, if I'm the Rams, just rest him until he's ready to go for the playoffs, because
Mm.
at this point, he's kind of been, yeah, he's been big in the red zone, but outside of that, it's back to Puka, and it's back to that 13 personnel and running a lot of those tight ends. So it'll be interesting what they do,
Yeah.
especially on a short week, Gilbert.
And Vic, I got to head after this
Yep.
response here. I don't want you to ignore the comments, so I'm gonna take off to this one. But
Yep.
the Devontae Adams thing, when you have a hamstring that you pulled, that he definitely pulled, you saw him going down the field. It's gonna take a month, or it might even take more. That's a bad crap about the hamstring. You feel like you could play, but the second you're out there going full speed, you're gonna probably tweak it again. So I'm with you. Shut him down for the rest of the year. Take your chances. Maybe you get the bye week there to make it a full month, but don't risk that injury. And then, quick preview before we give you full thoughts on Wednesday for House of Horns. The Seattle game is going to feel like the Detroit game, but for opposite reasons. Detroit didn't have a defense. Seattle doesn't have an offense. And when you're facing a team like the Rams, who are very, I'll say 80% complete. I'm going to take 20% away from the secondary. You can't make mistakes. Even if the Rams offense is having a couple bad plays against the defense for a quarter or two, they're gonna probably hang around because the Rams defense probably shutting down Sam Darnold. So that's the beauty of having complementary football. So yeah, Vic, I'm excited for Thursday, but we'll see, because I think this Rams team is on a mission right now.
Yeah, I'm with you, and we'll let you go with that, and then I'll get to the comments here, and we'll close things up. But thanks for giving us a couple minutes here. I wanted to get your thoughts on this game, and yeah, I mean, big win for the Rams, and they clinch a playoff spot. So thank you for joining us today,
Yeah,
Gilbert, and then I'll take over from here and get to the comments, so that way we get everybody's voice in here, because that's what we're all about. We want to make sure that people get their thoughts in, and we'll comment on that. All right, Gilbert, have a good one, and I'll
take
see you
care.
Wednesday for House
Enjoy
of.
the victory.
Yep.
Sounds good, guys. Take care.
All right. Later on. All right. Let me switch. Oh, there we go. We figured it out. All right. So Gilbert's gone. We're gonna get to these. We're gonna get to these comments now. So, let me start off with Let me start off with James Wheelock here. He says, having a victory beer with, hey, enjoy that, because that was a big win. As we kind of went back and forth with Gilbert, I really did like everything I saw from this win. I'll say this, and I wasn't trying to make excuses for the secondary, but I did pay attention a lot more to that defensive line in this game, and they wanted to stop the run. Their number one priority was stopping the run, and they were gonna let the secondary deal with things on the back end, and whatever happened, they were gonna deal with it. And I thought they did a good job. And so, hey, especially when you come out of the second half, you make adjustments, and you force three consecutive three and outs. That's what won that game for them. So yeah, enjoy that victory beer. Delbert says, once again, abandoning the run in the first drive, and again getting started late to get going. And yeah, like I think it was kind of what you see in boxing, where you have two heavyweights going up against each other. You're kind of trying to figure out, you're wanting to feel each other out, see where you're at, and where do you want to attack. And I felt like both sides of the ball, the defense was a little bit slow getting going, and then the same thing with the offense. And eventually they found their footing, and they blitzed them for those 20 unanswered points. I think the game was 24-14, and then the Rams, I thought it was huge too. One thing too that I hadn't brought up yet, was getting that field goal late in the first half. I thought that was such a huge because I knew they knew they were going to get the ball back to start the second half, and so getting points there and then cutting the lead there was huge for them. So I thought that was a big thing to get that field goal late in the first half. Henry Camacho says, "What a game! Rams took the Lions' best shot, but like Joe Davis said, you gotta knock out the Tims. You gotta knock them out." And yeah, I mean, I thought that was huge. I thought it was a big revenge game for McVay, especially as we talked about, like he was 0-2 against Dan Campbell. You cannot fall to 0-3 and be this genius offensive coordinator, this great coach. And now he's in the playoffs for the seventh time in 9 seasons. So Daniel Calderon says we got to get more from Verse. And as I talked about, I had a little back and forth in the comments with a Rams fan in what was his name? I have it on here. His name is, I want to give him credit because that was a good conversation with Gerald Jeffcoat, and we were talking about that, and I with some of the comments from Jared Verse and what Shula wants out of him, and I thought they did a great job. They set the edge. I get it. The sacks haven't come like we want to, but seeing them stop the run in this game and not allow both of those guys to kind of go off. I thought that was huge. So I'm okay with if they don't get a lot of sacks and you're able to stop the run. One of the biggest critiques we had about this Rams team last season was they were just getting gashed, on in the run game last year, and that hasn't happened against a lot of the big running backs this season. So that's been, sometimes you got to give up something in this game, and letting your secondary out on an island is not something you want to do every game. But I felt like in this game you had to stop one of the things that the Lions do well, and they chose to stop the run game here because they know how dangerous that Lions offense is. Henry Camacho says the Lions O-line did a good job in the first half, but give Shula a shout out for adjusting. The 4 points at the end of the half and beginning of the second halves were big. And yeah, I mentioned that. That was huge. I mean, if when you're a good coach when you can make adjustments, and I got to give him his credit. I get it. They were getting beat in the secondary, but he made the adjustments. He brought more pressure in those first three drives, which resulted in 3 and outs, and that was the ball game. I mean, once they were able to outscore them 20 to nothing there, and take a 30, I think it was a what 34-24 lead. It was ball game at that point. So good job by Shula there. Don Malatesta says Forbes played poorly again. Should we try Witherspoon again and maybe Wallace for the Seattle game? I would say this. I think they made they wanted Forbes to be out there on an island, and then Witherspoon was inactive in this game, a healthy inactive. So I felt like they know what they like from Forbes. He's a physical guy, even though he's not as big. But he only had the one penalty there, which I thought was him being aggressive, which I don't mind that. If you'll take it in this game, I thought Kobe Durant was the one that got beat a couple times there. So you also you also have to think about that. Um, and so, yeah. And then Happy Gilmore says Rams played good on offense, forces skipping a beat. We got lucky with the Lions pass game. And I just, like I said, I don't want to make excuses, but I felt like their thing was they were going to stop the run, and so they left their corners on an island, and they got beat, but it didn't cost them the win in this game, and they made the adjustment coming out of the first half. And Henry Camacho, I know what you meant. I know you meant 3 points and not 4, but yeah, that was huge. Who gets the 12 pack? Yeah, thank you. That is, you know what? Because of you, I was waiting for Gilbert to see what he was gonna go with, but honestly, and I mentioned, to me the key to this game was that those three consecutive 3-and-outs by the defense. So for me, it's Kobe Turner. 5 tackles, 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 2 QB hits. He gets my 12-pack beer of the game for me because if they don't stop those 3, all you needed was a couple of stops from this defense because you knew what you were going to get offensively in this game, which, like we said, especially if you checked out the betting show or even checked out the preview, we told you go with the over here because the over was 55 points. They hit this game went way over those 55 points. So the defense stepped up when they needed to. And I thought Kobe Turner having the only sack for the Rams in this game, and also with the 2 tackles for loss, those were huge. So hope he enjoys that 12-pack of beer. But let us know, who do you guys? Oh, what did I skip over your comment, Willie? My bad, Willie. I got you, my guy. LA says Willie Bowen says LA Rams are phenomenal. They are 11-3. Yes, they are. And I apologize for that, Willie. I got you here. But good to have you guys here in the comments. Let us know who do you give the 12-pack of beer player of the game. But yeah, good win. And now we set up for Rams versus Seahawks part 2 here. And this is what you pretty much, if you win this game, you win the division pretty much, and you pretty much also, you probably start looking at winning that number 1 seed. So big game on Thursday on a short week. You take care of business. Under Sean McVay, I think they have a really good record whenever they've gone from Sunday to the Thursday. The only one I can remember them losing was, of course, the divisional game at home against the 49ers earlier this season. But outside of that, the last couple of years, McVay and the Rams have been really good with the short weeks. And so hopefully they can continue it again this season. And we'll see what happens on Thursday. But make sure you join us on Wednesday for House of Horns. We're trying to get a special guest. Maybe we can find a reporter to join us. We'll either do record something and then post it, or we'll see if we can get somebody to join us. So we'll see. What up, Carney? Good to see you on here. But that does it for me, unless you guys have any more questions before I close out here. A big win as the Rams clinch a playoff spot now for the 7th time in 9 seasons under Sean McVay, which is honestly that's a really cool thing. But I have a bunch of stuff here that I just put that I have for you guys. I'm sure you'll like this in terms of history for the Rams. The Rams put up 40 points and 500 total yards for the 2nd straight game. That is the first time they've done that since 2000. And then you have Kyron Williams. He becomes the 4th Ram, or is he the 3rd Ram? Yeah, the 3rd Ram. He joins Eric Dickerson, Marshall Faulk, and Steven Jackson's as the only running backs with 3 straight 1,000-yard rushing. I think Steven Jackson has the most. He had 8 straight seasons from 2005 to 2012. Dickerson had 4 straight, and Falk had 3. So Kyron Williams is in good. He's in good company there with 2 Hall of Famers. As I said, Marshall Faulk, and Eric Dickerson. Puka Nacua now has 2 seasons with at least 100 catches, making him just the 2nd Ram player ever to go over 100 catches. The only other one is Torrey Holt. So another thing for Puka Nacua. And then the Rams have 3 rushing touchdowns in consecutive games for the first time since week 15 and 16 of the 2000 season. So the rushing game has, been good as well. So yeah, a lot of cool things. And then one more here. I thought we didn't bring it up. We barely talked about Kobe Parkinson there, but since they lost their tight end to IR. Kobe Parkinson now has 6 touchdowns in the last 6 games. So he's been great I know a lot of people were down after they signed him and he had a crappy season last season, but he's been really big for this team, especially since Tyler Higbee went down and was placed on IR. He now has, like as I said, 2 touchdowns in this game and now has 6 in the last 6 games. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Yeah, Stafford for gets the MVP. Without a doubt, especially after what we saw from Drake May against the Bills. I think Stafford, although like Gilbert said, look out for Josh Allen. If Josh Allen is able to win, if Josh Allen is able to win out and they end up winning the division, he might get in the way for Stafford. So that's somebody to look at. But as I talked about in the comments too, it this award is about narratives and the fact that Stafford what he's doing at this age with this offense, and if they're able to get not only win the division but also get the number 1 seed, I think that's gonna help Stafford, especially if you look at the fact that Josh Allen won it last season. I think that's gonna be huge. Carney says that's awesome. Kyron Williams idolizes Steven Jackson. I saw that. Yeah, I think he grew up in the St. Louis area, so he was a big Rams fan. Kyron Williams was a Rams fan growing up, especially out in St. Louis. And then Carney's asking, "Do you think we should rest? Rest Devontae Adams?" Yeah, we talked about it. Gilbert was on here right before you came on here, Carney. And I asked him. I said, and we both kind of agreed that if I'm him, I just sit him the rest of the season, especially with the hamstring. You don't want to, that's why it's important that they win on Thursday. If they win on Thursday, you can just rest them the rest of the way, especially with all the parts you have on this offense, the tight end. And you're starting to see Terrence Ferguson play a lot more. He missed on a couple of catches there, but I thought he played pretty well. They just need to get that connection going and the chemistry and I feel like he'll be more of a contributor, especially if Devontae Adams misses some time. So keep an eye on Terrence Ferguson. He's somebody, if you see him out in fantasy, whether it's Parkinson or Terrence Ferguson, that's somebody that you guys need to pick up in fantasy football, especially with the fantasy football playoffs going on right now. And then last one here from Don Malatesta. Is our kicker problem now solved based on performance of the kicker? I would say so. Um, he hasn't missed. He hasn't missed an extra point. He hasn't missed a field goal. So I would say so. I think that for now it's solved. We'll see what happens, especially if it gets down. And I would like to see him make one of those crunch time field goals. We'll see what happens in Seattle. That's gonna if they trust him to kick field goals in Seattle, I think that pretty much answers your question. So we'll see what happens in Seattle. I think that's going to be a good thing to keep an eye on. Brian Smith says, with the 13 personnel ability, not sure Devontae's status matters. I'm with you. We saw what happened with Tutu Atwell um, because of the 13 personnel. We saw him in this game. He made a great catch. I'll give him credit for that. He stayed in bounds. And so maybe we see a little bit more of Tutu Atwell going forward, especially if Devontae isn't healthy. And like I said, I would just sit him. There's no reason for you to play him. Make sure that he's ready to go for the playoffs. And like Gilbert said, if you're able to get the bye, then you have. So let's look at this, right? If you get the bye, you get the next 3 weeks, right? You have the Seahawks, then you get that mini bye. Then you have the Falcons on Monday night, and then you have the Cardinals on a short week after that, coming off of Monday night. Then you get that 4th week if you get the bye. So then the week leading up to the second round of the playoffs, that's 5 weeks you can let him rest. So yeah, I would just shut him down for the rest. And we've seen like he doesn't practice on Wednesdays, and then he pretty much just does. He pretty much just what is it? He just goes through the walkthroughs, as far as I've seen. So if Devontae Adams is going to be ready to go the first game of the playoffs, and so I would just rest him. I'm there. And then yeah, I like Brian Smith's here. The fatter kicker is untested. Yeah, I still feel that way. I think we're gonna see what happens against. And then any updates on Alaric Jackson? I did not. The only one I saw was about Devontae, and they said they haven't they haven't ruled them out for Thursday, but it didn't look good. So I would say at this point for Devontae Adams, like I would rest him. And then Alaric Jackson was it looks like they just changed his cleats and then he was right back in that game. So that's what I remember. He went and changed his cleats and then he was right back there. So I would not I don't expect him to miss any time, but we'll see. Maybe it was something and I missed it there. So but that'll do it for me. Good conversation here with you guys. Thanks for staying patient. As I said, Gilbert was only able to join us for a few minutes, and he had to also get to the Sunday night game. But big win for the Rams. They clinch a playoff spot, and now they get ready for that big matchup against the Seattle Seahawks. Can't wait to see what happens in that matchup. I'm sure a lot of the Seahawks fans will be in our comments again. They love to talk shit, so I can't wait for this matchup. I hate that it's a Thursday night game, but I guess in a way you get to enjoy. If you win, you get to enjoy it for a week and a half, and then things. You just wait. It's going to be a big matchup. I'll say that, but we'll see what happens. And I think it was Brian who said maybe they placed a little bit of vanilla defense there because they knew they had the matchup against the Rams coming up. But we'll see what Sean McVay has for Mike McDonald in their second matchup here. But it's time for me to go. Thank you guys for joining us. Big win for the Rams, as I said again, and can't wait to talk to you guys on Wednesday and preview that matchup. But I hope enjoy this victory Sunday. Enjoy victory Monday tomorrow. Have a beer. Enjoy it. Enjoy Sunday night football. Monday night football as well. And then we'll be back. We have the Compas on. We have Lunes live tomorrow. We'll talk about a little bit about this Rams win and also the Chargers. And then, of course, we have our big show on Tuesday with the four compas. All four of us will be back. So looking forward to that. But and then Wednesday we'll have House of Horns. So be sure to join us for that. Have a good night, guys. Really, really, really enjoy this win.